good.
So fantastic. Guys, we're going to wait till some people get on here. I got Kevin with me. I'll introduce him in a minute. We'll wait for some folks to get on. Good morning. We've got Walt's on, Doug, Gerald, Paul. Good morning, guys. Give it another minute here. Get my notes squared away. My lovely bride, Miss Lisa, is on this morning. Is the volume okay? I don't have a microphone this morning, so we're kind of using the default mic in the laptop. Kevin, good morning. Razmik, good morning. Paul, always good to see you on. Robert, good morning. My brother Jeffrey Brown's on this morning.
Jeff Brown.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Patrick, good morning. All right, man. I guess we're ready to go.
We're good.
Hey, Dean, good morning. Glad to have you on up there in sunny Southern California. Let me know if my volume's okay. I know that, like I said, I ran off and left my lapel mic. So we're using the crappy default mic in the laptop. Is it okay? Can you hear us okay? Will, good morning. Toby.
Volume's good. We're good.
Volume's good. Perfectly. Sound fine. Great. Scott. Wow. Okay. Lots of folks on this morning. As always, good morning and welcome to Coffee with Rich. I am the co-host of the American Warrior Show, America's #1 self-defense podcast. And like, share, comment. Let me know where you're from. If this is your first time on Coffee with Rich, welcome to the show. As always, if we get 50 live viewers on, somebody's going to get a Gen 1. That's the first generation American Warrior Society. Tumbler, can you show them what it looks like, Kevin?
Is this it? Gen 1?
Yeah, that's the Gen 1. So please like and share in the groups that you are a member of. Okay, you guys know who I am. I'm Rich Brown, retired Marine, former cop, blah, blah, blah. This is my friend, one of my very best friends, Kevin. We're out here visiting him and his lovely wife in Las Vegas. Kevin, introduce yourself.
Kevin Weber. I don't know. How far do we go back, Rich?
Way back.
Mid-90s? Mid-90s. So when I was a young pup, I was stray on the side of the road, and I think Rich picked me up. It's kind of like his version of Blindside. I'm not Big Mike, but it was his version of Blindside. Ended up we spent a little time in the reserves together, in the Marine Corps Reserves, actually where I met Mike and Rich. Became a law enforcement officer when I got out of the Marine Corps and went into some government contracting. That's what I've done ever since. It's taken me all over the world, I guess. From Tennessee to the Middle East back, and now I'm in Las Vegas.
And you're still working government contracts?
I'm still working government contracts.
Government security contracts, folks. Keeping America safe. That's what we're about. As always, I tell you guys about an article you need to check out. The article I'm going to give you this morning is Gun Solutions Seeking a Problem. And we kind of talked about this yesterday when we were walking down Fremont Street looking at all the freaks in downtown Las Vegas, is that if all you have with you is your firearm, it covers a very tiny solution. That's all it can solve for you.
That's right.
So what do you got for everything else? And we're going to talk about that. But the gentleman that wrote this article for us, a real good friend of mine, Andrew Keith. You know Andrew, right?
I know Andrew. Know him well.
Matter of fact, me, Kevin, and Andrew, we did some vlogs. If you want to check those out, those are all free on the AmericanWarriorSociety.com. And you can watch me and Kevin and this morning's author talk about some keys to understanding and combating violence. We did some gear reviews. Those are all free for you in the American Warrior Society. But the article that Andrew did for us, he talked about overdependence on the firearm, the attitudes that may become inherent when you carry a gun, What he means by that is you may take risks you would never take before. And if you're joining us this morning, we've got 27 live viewers up bright and early for Coffee with Rich. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you please share. He talks about the attitude that may come with a gun. He talks about training or lack thereof that you may have. He talks about potentially going to prison if you're not prepared for the legal consequence. Right. What do you think? You think somebody can be overconfident?
Oh, absolutely. I think so. It's not. So you're talking about one tool for all solutions, right? I don't think anything like that exists. If you want to expand on that a little bit, just because there may be something that I may be able to use a knife. You take into consideration things that have happened in the last 20 years in the U.S., like a movie theater. If you're in a crowd like that, are you willing to employ a handgun if there's other people around? Do you have that much confidence in your abilities?
Right.
In that stressful situation? Because there's a lot of things that we can do on the range, but until you're in that situation, in that moment, with the adrenaline, with the dump, with your family maybe behind you, I think that probably creates some things that people, that hopefully we can mitigate those things and help prepare people for those.
And it's funny you bring that up because when we were flying down here the other day, man, there was a very overweight female, nothing against her gender. She was riding on a Segway in the airport, and she's got so much kit on, and she's so overweight. She's on her little Segway, and the way she had her rifle slung and the way that it was set up, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I told my wife, I said, I'd love to take this young lady out to the range and have her do 50-meter headshots with that AR she's strapped with. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe she is a fine shooter. I don't know, but she's the only one that's armed beyond the security checkpoint. I'm like, and it all comes down to you and your ability to make those shots, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's I go back to there's a story in law enforcement, not to get into anything that's morbid, but in your mind and what you have built up in your mind, especially as a young person when we're young, is I remember getting a call for a vehicle fire one night, and someone that was in the vehicle. And in my mind, I'm going to take this old Gerber knife and I'm going to cut them out. And then you arrive on scene and you realize that there's nothing you can do for that individual. So those are some things that you think about because you can't even get next to the car. But in your mind, you had it built up. Well, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to forearm smash this window out. And I'm going to just cut this person out. And I'm going to be the hero.
Yeah.
Well, when the temperature's so high on that car that the metal is melting, there's nothing you can do. So just prepare yourself for things like that, I think. And that was a lesson I had to learn early.
And speaking of that, Paul that's joining us this morning, Paul Lively, had 2 tourniquet saves in a week. And he's joining us.
Who has one in a lifetime?
I know. I've never had one. Paul had 2 in a week, and he's saved countless people with CPR. Just a phenomenal guy. We're lucky to have you, Paul, as a member, you and Doug up there, and Walton, Columbus. So glad to have you guys on this morning. We got 34 live viewers, man. That's pretty amazing. It looks like my jiu-jitsu coach, Mr. Cody Hudson, is on the show.
I know Cody Hudson.
Yeah, you know his family.
I know his family, yeah. Great guy.
We got Brett is on. Good morning, Brett. Sean, Will Parker. Will says, I was just traveling and had one incident and one potential. Was very happy to have had my OC on me once it ended up in my hand. Phenomenal. Yeah. Ed Black is on the show. Ed, we were in the Marine Corps together. Real good dude. Good to have you on, sir. Stan True, Chad Albright, Eric Bruce. Oh, my God. Josh Slater, 31 on the show. Eric.
I don't want to say it's because of me this morning.
I think it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're the pretty part of this.
Yeah.
Me and Eric Bruce, a real good friend of mine and a hell of a good fighter and shooter, and me and him have been in a few scrapes together.
I don't feel real pretty this morning, Rich. I don't know it's early here.
Yeah, it is early. The gentleman that wrote this article, you were talking about cutting somebody out of a car. Andrew Keith that wrote this article, Gun Solution Seeking Problem, which are absolutely free, article for you. He actually was awarded Medal of Valor by Vice President Joe Biden years ago for saving a trooper that was stuck in a burning car.
Yeah, he was.
So God bless you for that. And he is a member of the American War Society as well. Let's talk about a podcast because we always talk about all this free content. Podcast number, show number 30, a long time ago, South Narc, Mr. Craig Douglas himself. He introduces our audience to gun grappling. This was a long time ago, episode number 30. And if you haven't listened to that episode, I think we did 2 with Craig Douglas. We did one with Cecil Birch also. Cecil Birch is from Immediate Action Combatives, good friend of mine. Cecil is also a BJJ god and a good friend. And he travels with Craig teaching ECQC. If you're not familiar with any of this stuff, please Google it, South Narc, Craig Douglas, what those guys are doing with gun grappling. They're in a whole nother realm. But I bring it up this morning because we're talking about gun solution seeking problems, and the gun solution is almost never the answer. Like Will said, we got OC spray, we got some other things. We got our gadget this morning we're going to talk about in a minute. You can't see it. It's a surprise. But having a lot of skills and abilities in your wheelhouse is what's going to save the day, not one single solitary product.
Even something that, to take you back to another story that we talked about this weekend while you were here, is just awareness of your areas.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough, my wife and my son, we were able to go to a Dodgers game this summer, and we just happened to be in the stadium when the earthquake happened. And being aware of your surroundings and your exit strategy, it's a little bit different when you're in unfamiliar territory. So just be aware of that. Yeah.
My brother Jeff said, I thought you, about a week ago, we did a show where we talked about being a bouncer and stuff like that. I was talking about, I took normally it's 50 live viewers and they get the Gen 1 tumbler. I said, we're doing what we do at closing time. We're going to drop our standards down to 40. So my brother Jeff mentioned that was just for that one show, Jeff. That was the Drop Your Standards episode.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about our podcast. We talked about the article. Let's talk about this morning's gadget. Kevin, let you lead it off.
You want me to start this off? So
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do the grand reveal. I'm not going to steal your thunder this morning.
No, you're not going to steal it.
So I have a Surefire backup flashlight here. Bring it in camera view. So everyday carry type of flashlight. Of the 3 that we have here, mine's probably the one that's in the middle. I kind of inherited and was issued this flashlight. I was fortunate I didn't have to buy this because Surefire can, there doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground on Surefire. People either love them or they hate them. But one thing you can't deny is that they're a little bit pricey. It's a good piece of gear. I've thrown this one down. I've stepped on it. I've dropped it while I've been running, and it just keeps on ticking. I think I'm on my second set of batteries here.
Can I talk to something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, you work inside a secure facility and have for years, right?
Yes.
Places where it's because of the special weapons that are there, the special items that are there involving national security and things of that nature. You can't carry a lot of the things that most people can.
No.
So can you talk about why that's important to have a flashlight?
So this is, well, for a couple of different reasons. Just for the ability to, when you're in low light conditions and when it goes dark, you can always lose power wherever you're at. It's just for the same reasons that if you were on an airplane or a movie theater or anywhere, I would rather have this. Really, if you don't have a light, you're just pretty much stuck in a lot of places. If you lose power and then you lose your backup generators or anything like that. If you're talking about when you there's something about when there's 2 people in low light and you're able just to get that shock factor, just the first, and really it's the first shot in with the flashlight, especially with an LED. That brings your advantage up a little bit.
I want to talk about that. John Correa, another good friend, you may be familiar with him from the YouTube. He does active self-protection. I've been privileged enough to have John come out and train with me before. John's a really good guy. He's got an amazing show on YouTube. Check it out. Got millions of subscribers. Active self-protection. But anyway, John did one recently, Kevin, where this guy ends up, he's drunk. He's assaulting a woman. It's him and his girlfriend about to go out on a date, and they see this drunk guy assaulting a woman, and he ends up hip tossing him. There's a whole other thing. He lets him go. But the guy keeps attacking, and he stuns him with his flashlight just by using the strobe. And the guy was temporarily, kind of like, what the heck is this guy doing? So it is legitimate. As a matter of fact, yesterday, Kevin and I and our lovely wives, we had lunch with a buddy of mine who, another former Marine. I won't say his name, but he guards A-list celebrities all around the world. And we just happened to be in Sin City at the same time. His client is here. And one of the things he said, talking about the gun, is he goes, people ask me all the time, do I carry a gun? He goes, I almost never carry a gun. He goes, what do you want me to do with this gun? People keep saying I need to carry a gun. He's like, I'm a Marine. I get it. There's times where a gun can solve the problem. But when I'm inside that bubble of security with my client, the gun is not the solution. A lot of times this is the solution. To keep them from tripping on something on national television with all these wires and stuff, I like that is about all you need. Maybe some OC spray, but gun isn't always the answer. We got 30 live viewers on this morning. Let's see. Any comments before I go into mine? Okay, especially in California. Yeah, great point. I can't carry in California, folks, but I can carry a flashlight. So anything else on yours?
No.
All right. I'm going to talk about the one that's in my pocket every day. You can see it's pretty beat up. Great little tool. That's the Pro-Tec Hl. It uses the CR123 batteries. It's an anodized aluminum body, as you can see. It's got some knurling on the front, the little bezel there. You could strike somebody with it if you wanted to. It's got the strobe feature. It's actually waterproof down to 1 meter for 30 minutes. Only takes one of those little batteries. The lumens is 275 lumens, so it packs enough power that it doesn't over the power. So if you come around a light around the corner, like Kevin's walls here, white, if you hit that light and the light washes back in your face, it could temporarily disable you in your vision. So we don't necessarily want that. It's got an anti-roll head on it, and what that means is if you sit it on something, it's not going to roll off the counter and lose it. It's got a really good pocket clip. And again, you can take this inside of an airplane. You can take this inside of a secure facility. You can take it anywhere. Thank you. You're welcome. So big fan of this. Don't leave home without it. I promise you, spend $50 on Amazon or whatever it costs. Throw one in your pocket. The other neat thing is if you're using your temple index technique with your flashlight for searching, and I've got my handgun here, it's perfect. I'm protecting my head. I've got my light. If I need to change hands, I can roll like this. So, and the thumb activation switch, phenomenal product.
Great product.
But this is the big guns, folks. This guy right here. This is the Pro-Tec Hl USB. It actually has you see how this slides down? And it's got a charging port right inside there. This thing can put out 850 lumens.
That's almost like something that you would use on duty or leaving your vehicle, though, right, Rich? I mean,
yeah, and to be honest with you, man, this rides in my backpack. But the thing is, I took this on an airplane. They love this. This is totally fine. And guess what I can do with it? They took away my scary black tactical pen and let me come on playing with this. Which one do you think does more damage?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a phenomenal product. Set you back about $90. It's got multiple settings. It can do 850 looms for 1.5 hours for a shining of up to 200 meters. It can do 350 looms for 4 hours for 126 meters.
That's a lot lighter than you would think it would be.
Yeah.
It looks heavy, but it's not.
It can do batteries or USB. So you can charge this off your off a wall charger. You can charge it off your laptop, or you can use it for 85 lumens for 12 hours, and it can shine 63 meters. It's the same thing. It's anodized aluminum. It's lightweight. Just a phenomenal product. It's 10 tap programmable, so you can actually program this to be the tap number you want. I haven't done that. I just got standard. And anyway, standard and strobe.
We're starting to get some more than light shining in here.
I know. All right, let's see what the comments are here, Kev. Let's see. Loaded brain is better than a loaded weapon. Matt, I do jiu-jitsu with Matt, great guy, and you're absolutely right. We talk about, and I was fearful of doing this, but we'll go ahead and get it out of the way. Number one piece of self-defense equipment is the 6 inches in between your ears, man. That's your number one piece of self-defense equipment. Number 2, I could argue a lot of different things. Is it my cell phone? Because it does so much for me. It can communicate with the authorities. I can get myself out of here. I got all kinds of great apps. I've got some apps on here that will allow me to navigate anywhere in the world. Or is my second most important piece. This guy is my second most important piece. My
Are you carrying a knife?
is it the firearm? I don't know, man, but I will tell you that I agree with Matt. The number one most important thing is the 6 inches between your ears. Let's see who else is on here this morning. Brian Lakatosh, holy crap. There's a blast from the past. Me and Brian were in the Marine Corps together, did a couple of deployments, went to war together, just like me and Eric, Paul. Let's see, I carry the Pro-Tec Hl every day. It is my admin light at work. Yeah. That's what I bought my son a Pro-Tec Hl. Big fan of those. Dean says Pro-Tec Hl, most useful thing I carry. And Dean was a Marine with me, and good dude, and was a police officer for a long time in California. John Horner, I carry Pro-Tec Hl every day, and it is awesome. I can clip it onto my hat too. Great point, John. Donald says, hit someone between the eyes with that light and leave a mark. It sure will. Yeah. John Childs, I picked up a Surefire stiletto, and I love it. Phenomenal. Sean says, Rich, can you add that app list sometime? Absolutely. I might do an article about that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. I'm going to close this one. Oh, there we go. Doug says,
is that a mountain over there, Rich? It's a mountain.
It is a mountain over there. Doug says, I carried a flashlight on my flight to and from Israel, and throughout my time in Israel with no issues. I have also used it to keep suspects off guard by temporarily blinding them. Doug is a lieutenant in the police department up in Ohio, and Doug is spot on. These lights, man, again, I've carried them all over Europe. No problem anywhere entering and exiting museums.
This is all I had when I was in the Middle East. So,
really?
Yeah.
And when Kevin was in the Middle East, you were setting up another country's nuclear
helping with it, yeah.
Yeah. So again, even though he was there to do that, entrusted with state secrets of a foreign government, he still can't carry a firearm. So let that be a lesson to you. Speaking of foreign countries, Jocko is on here from South Africa. Good morning, Jocko. Glad to have you. Walt Davis, Pro-Tec 1L every day. Dewey Shepard is on. Good morning, Dewey. 31 live viewers. You got any questions for Kevin or I? Kevin brings a diverse background. We're very lucky to have him. So any questions for Kevin or I this morning? I'm very happy to have the viewers that we've had on this morning. Lots of friends, family, and stuff like that. We talked about, while I'm waiting for your comments, this morning, just for just joining us, we talked about the article, Gun Solution Seeking Problem. We talked about an overdependence on the gun. We talked about certain attitudes that may come with a gun, lack of training or overtraining. We talked about the potential for going to prison. The rest of your
legal
life.
Implications, of course.
Oh, the legal implications are huge.
And really just, when what you live with for the rest of your life, if you have to put yourself in those situations.
Yeah, I had a good friend of mine. He was in a shooting. A woman tried to run him over in a parking lot. She was a prostitute. They had caught her in a sting. He was undercover. She tried to run him over. He fired one round through the glass, hit her. She survived. It took like 6 months to get cleared before he could get back on the job. So a lot of people think that, it's is it worth it? I don't know. That's a question you got to answer, but I would rather have some intermediate force options before we get there.
Sure.
Podcast number 30, we talked about that too. South Narc, Craig Douglas. And if you're not familiar with Craig, man, you got to be, because, this idea of carrying a gun, man, I was thinking about this as we're walking on Fremont Street yesterday here in Vegas, all the freaks. And I was armed. I was carrying, as a matter of fact, I came out here without a gun. Kevin hooked me up with a 19X, Glock 19X.
I would like to think that it was like that scene in 13 Hours when they get in, they're in the.
It was just like this.
It wasn't, but I would like to think it was.
It was actually cooler than that scene. But anyway, my point is, we're walking down the street and I'm thinking, okay, man, there's a crowd around me, a bunch of weirdos and stuff like that, homeless people. What if I did have to take a shot? How am I going to retain this firearm? And if you're not thinking about how to retain the firearm, guys, you are wrong.
That's a big one.
Then we talked about lights, man. We talked about Kevin showed off his Surefire. I talked about the family of Pro-Tec lights, and just in fairness and full disclosure, Pro-Tec, I didn't pay for any of these lights. These were all, we did some light stuff for the American Warrior Society. They sent us a bunch of lights. I sent them to Mike Seeklander, my business partner. I ended up with a bunch of them. Absolutely fell in love with them.
So I didn't get any of these free lights. I'm not, that's not a hint there.
No.
But I'm a huge fan of Streamlight, and I really like their weapons lights. If you're an opportunity, that's one accessory that I don't know that I'm not going to say that everybody needs that. There's just certain situations that for a light mounted on your weapon. But these things, there are mounts out there, and if you want to go something a little bit smaller, you can mount these onto your weapons.
Yep.
And this is perfect. So if you're on a budget, like a lot of us are, you can mount this on your weapon at night when you go to bed, take it off in the morning, put it in your pocket, and go. That's just something that I've had to do.
Bro, totally. That's a great point. My rifle has a light on it. My handgun that I keep in my home has a light on it. My handgun that I walk around town with does not have a light on it, but Rich Brown has a light with him.
Right.
And if I have to draw it in a low-vis environment, I've got my light.
So, I mean, just let's talk about that for a second if we have time. So we're talking about identifying our targets, and, you know, we put night sights on our weapons, and, I mean, we have to ID the threat before. I mean, if you're able to articulate in court, and I know we have lawyers out there but I would think that this would be a necessity if you're in a low light situation to be able to ID a threat.
You can't pull the trigger if you can't ID the threat,
That's right.
folks. You absolutely can't. That's a big mistake. And we had a case recently where home invasion guy comes in. He comes through the glass. Dad gets up. Matter of fact, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he might have been walking through the house with his daughter or something, looking at what noise he heard. He ends up in a fight on the ground in the living room with this scumbag that's broken into his home. Wife comes out with a gun, no light on it. She starts firing into this dark, entangled mass, kills the intruder, and permanently paralyzes her husband.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to illuminate the threat to know where those shots are going. Here's some couple of comments coming at you this morning. My brother Jeff Brown says, back in the 90s, a Coast Guard law enforcement officer walked off the ledge of a ship he was unfamiliar with and fell 2 stories to his death because he did not have a flashlight. Jocko says, I'll have to catch up. Jocko, we got covering a lot of stuff this morning. John says, what about a cane? A lot of people talk about canes as an intermediate weapon. There's nothing wrong with that. Guess what? I'm fixing to head off to Ireland, Scotland, France here in a month or so. I could carry a cane if I wanted to.
I think you have a walking stick that that you have.
That's a lie, folks. That's fake news. You heard it. But listen, here's the deal with canes. We're back to the point that they're an impact weapon if you're going to use them. Now, I understand there's some martial arts styles that you can learn use a cane pretty effectively. I don't know any of them. Rich Brown will be using it as an impact weapon. Here's the problem with that. It takes paying compliance to use that. You have to cause enough damage to their body or enough pain to the body to get them to break an attack.
Just like a baton or an asp.
Nothing wrong with that. If that's
Right.
your solution, God bless you. Good on you. I can't carry pepper spray when I go to the UK or most places in Europe. However, they sell the FARB marking dye. I don't know if we mentioned that in the last couple of weeks when we were talking about the different kind of chemical aerosol irritants, pepper sprays and stuff like that. But you can use it, and it throws out a really thick red viscous marking dye in their face. Doesn't hurt them at all, but it will mark them for many days and weeks to come. So yeah, cane is an option, John. Good point. Flashlights, I do carry Olight Mini for EDC. Cover weapon, light versus pocket or both off duty. Cover. Do you know what it's talking about? Cover weapon.
Cover weapon, light versus pocket or both. Cover weapon.
Here's what I would say. This is always in the pocket as a civilian guy. You know, it's always going to be in my pocket. The handgun I carry around with me doesn't always have a light on it. I did experiment with a TLR6, which is a little mini light laser combination. That had it on my Glock 19.
In an appendix holster.
In an appendix holster, yeah. Works made a holster for me that had the Glock 19 with the TLR6. It had a little light laser. It was a phenomenal product. You know, I didn't have a problem with it. I wish it had a grip activation because you actually had to take your finger off, push the light on, and then put the finger back in the trigger. I'll give you a little tip, folks. Mike and I talked to the engineers of some flashlights out there, and we're like, hey guys, why are you not making the grip activation switch? And the light engineers and the tech guys said, the lawyers don't want us to. I said, what? They want your finger to come off the trigger, activate the light, and go back on the trigger so that you don't accidentally do one or the other. So I'm just telling you guys. So anyway, I like this and the light, or the ones that stay in my house. My rifle's always set up with a light on it. My handgun in the house.
And one thing about that, and I just add, not to take away from Rich. So if you do that, if you set up in that configuration, always carry a light separately. You're not going to pull your gun out and use that light to ID a target, which I'm not going to say I've ever seen it happen, but let's not do that.
Yeah. Matt says, have you all spoken about the Castle Doctrine, especially as it pertains to legal implications? I leave all the legal stuff to our good friend Andrew Branca, who wrote the book, The Law of Self-Defense.
Lucky to have that guy around. Right?
Absolutely. Andrew's a good friend. He wrote the book, The Law of Self-Defense, man. Matt, anybody listening this morning, go out, pick up that book. It's the best investment you're ever going to make on your self-defense, because if you don't understand and I know that Matt and I do jiu-jitsu together. He's a phenomenal grappler. If you don't understand the contextual use of that force, and I'm not preaching to anybody, most of you on here this morning absolutely understand this, but I just want to say it as a professional in this stuff. If you don't understand the contextual use of force, you're just potentially training yourself to go to prison. So yes, there is a Castle Doctrine in the state of Tennessee. It's expanded to, you have no duty to retreat. I think I was in Rhode Island recently, and I think there was a Castle Doctrine, but if you're out in town, you have to flee before you can use force. Don't have to do that in Tennessee. You have to understand where you're at and what the laws are. We talked about, I think it was in Idaho and South Dakota. Maybe not Idaho. I don't know. There was 2 states in the union where I cannot use defensive third party unless it's a family member. So here's a case in point. Kevin and I are out in town today. Let's say we were in South Dakota or one of the other states that doesn't allow me to save Kevin's life. So somebody's got him as a hostage. I can make that shot from 5 meters away and neutralize the threat. But if I kill that guy to save my buddy, he's not my blood relative. He's not my wife, my son, etc. My dad. Well, you could be my dad.
Could be.
But then I'm going to go to prison. So a lot of these things are so complex, you really need to read the book. Jocko says, still need weapon mounted light for the gun. I totally agree. Mm-hmm. Coin pouch sap. Those are pretty neat, man. And Travis, I know you're a big fan of saps and things of that nature. I think it's a pretty neat solution. Have you seen these? It's a leather sap. You unzip it, you put coins in it, zip it back up. So you could say, hey, man, this is just where I keep my coins. But in reality, it's a little sap. My grandfather was a truck driver, Ralph Brown. He was, all he had was a 3rd grade education, couldn't read and write. He carried a sap everywhere he went. So I will tell you that I have his at the house that he carried with him his whole life. He was a big fan of knocking the crap out of people when he had to. His grandson, however, is a little bit more leery of using impact weapons, as I've told y'all before.
It's a different time.
It's a different time. Yeah, but they have their place, Travis. There's no question about it. Doug says, if you can visit the Mom Museum there, if you haven't already, it is awesome.
I've heard that, Doug. I heard it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Doug, I tell you what, man. If you're joining and you don't know Doug Lightfoot, you should follow Doug Lightfoot. This guy is a strength monster. Probably the strongest man I've ever seen. I was sitting next to Doug recently in Ohio. He, just like me and Kevin, and Lisa, my wife, sitting across. She's like, you look like a child sitting next to Doug. I mean, his arms are massive. And Doug, we're lucky to have you as a member. Thanks for being on it this morning.
Okay.
Look who's on there.
Look, Adam jumped on this morning. What's up, Adam?
Good to see you. All right, any other questions for us? This is the last time, folks. I've kept you on here. What? How long have we been on here? Been on about, I don't know, 35 minutes or so.
Is that a pretty good time frame?
I don't know.
I don't know.
So anyway, last chance for questions for Kevin or I, and then we'll jump off here.
Not bound by society's rules on this.
We can do it.
We do what? This is our world.
You got the day off, and I'm on vacation.
Like Wayne's World.
Any questions for Kevin or I about anything we talked about this morning? We talked about over-reliance on the gun. We talked about gun grappling and all the stuff that Craig Douglas and Cecil Birch and Paul Sharp and all those guys who ShivWorks are doing. We talked about lights, the purpose of lights, weapon-mounted lights. We dipped our toe in the Castle Doctrine.
South Narc. Shout out to those guys, right? Is that the name of that? That you had the gun grappling?
Yeah.
Touched on that.
Yep, touched on that.
Mob Museum. We touched on the Mob Museum.
Mob Museum, but I need to check that out today. Donald joining. Good morning, Donald. Adam Luttrell. What's up, guys? Good to see you, Adam. Where are you at, Adam? Was you in Tennessee?
Yeah.
You in Tennessee?
I miss me some Adam.
Donald Green, good morning. Kurt, good morning, sir. Cody Hudson. Who does Kevin's hair?
Who does? Is that a shot over the bow? Cody does it?
Yeah. Talk trash to us.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm not afraid of him. I mean, I'll pay for his ticket to come over here. Give him a nice warm bed to sleep in.
Jocko says, "Okay, guys, enjoy. Gotta go. Stay safe." Hey, Jocko, stay safe in South Africa, brother. I know you're in a pretty dangerous country and doing God's work. So God bless you, brother.
Awesome.
Scott Pig, great info, guys. Go have some fun. All right. Guys, thanks for joining me this morning. Coffee with Rich. I appreciate it. Like, share, and share this content with somebody that needs it. Maybe they have a good morning this morning.
I hope they do.
All right, guys, stay safe.